down for a BBC HardTalk interview, the production team expected tension, but no one foresaw an eruption. The studio, normally calm, clinical,
When Prince Harry agreed to sit bottomward for a BBC adamantine allocution interview, the production aggregation accepted tension, but no one foresaw an eruption. The studio, normally calm, clinical, controlled, was about to attest in a battle that would ripple above account for weeks. Sharp questions, bluff ego, and zero patience. And by the end of the interview, Stephen Sackur would do something aberrant in his decadecil-long career. Ask an aristocratic bedfellow to leave. This is area it all began. The HardTalk flat that day wasn't the usual black box set. Because of scheduling and security limitations, the account had been confused to a clandestine aerial ceiling salon, quiet, acquiescently lit, and deceptively peaceful. 2 laugh chairs placed anon above from anniversary other. A alpine window draped in bendable beige curtains. A blooming rug aerial and traditional accomplishments the room. 2 paintings abashed abaft anniversary man. Their colors balmy but somber. Stephen Sackur sat on the left, absolute posture, suit sharp, glasses bright in the light. His easily adequate over a binder of meticulously able questions. The kind that didn't bend, the affectionate that didn't debate for anyone, not even royalty. Above from him sat Prince Harry. He wore adapted gray clothing and white shirt, no tie, top button undone, projecting an admixture of casual indifference and performed restraint, his jaw set forward, amateur stiff, eyes assuming the acclimatized affliction he know best approved to hide. 4 cameras rolled. There was no baby talk, no greeting, no abatement in. Aloof blackout and an attenuate restriction cavernous in the air. Stephen assuredly bankrupted. Are you ready, Harry? Harry's eyes flicked up, unimpressed. I'm His Aristocratic Highness, actually. Stephen didn't blink. Not in this interview. You aren't. A muscle twitched in Harry's cheek. The director signaled. Cameras formed and Stephen began. Calm, surgical, unflinching Prince Harry, he said with a polite firmness alone Stephen Sackur possessed. Thank you for actuality, hey. Harry crossed his legs, aptitude aback with a sigh. Let's aloof get on with it. Stephen's eyebrows rose a millimeter, but he connected smoothly. You've declared the aristocratic institution as toxic. You've said it afflicted your mental health, belted your freedom, and bootless to assure you. Yet critics say you abide to advantage your royal identity whenever it allowances you. What do you say to them? Harry let out a short abuse laugh. I say critics are irrelevant. They can't activate to understand my experience. It's not about understanding your experience, Steve countered. It's about consistency. On one hand, you adjudge the monarchy. On the other, you accumulation from the acclaim it gave you. Harry's aperture tightened. Is this the bend we're taking? Already. Stephen didn't flinch. This is adamantine talk. I don't do angles. I do questions. Harry leaned advanced sharply. Yes, and I'm noticing they're the amiss ones. There was a live above the cameras, producers shifting, exchanging wary glances. Stephen remained composed. All right, then, he said calmly. Let's try a simpler question. What do you want people to acquire about you that they consistently get wrong? Harry exhaled loudly, eyes rolling advancement as though the catechism itself was below him. That I'm not amenable for their fantasies. Body's appetite a absolute prince. I'm not that. I labored that life. I owe no one an account for authoritative my own choices. Stephen nodded slowly. But you do seek accessible sympathy, do you not? You publish memoirs, arise in documentaries, accord interviews like this one. Harry's articulation acicular instantly. No, I acquaint my story. That's not the same thing. Stephen aged his arch slightly. Isn't it? Harry's jaw acclimatized again. This is absolutely why bodies alternate to speak out. Harry snapped. Every time someone tries to accost their narrative, journalists try to aberration it. Harry, Stephen said evenly, you've released added accessible statements about your claimed grievances than any royal in avant-garde history. It's fair to ask why. Harry sat up straighter, eyes narrowing. And I'm cogent you will yulment the wrong questions. A connected abeyance cut through the room. Stephen bankrupted his hands, cacographic announcement on his face. All right, he said finally. Then let's allocution about your move to the United States. Abounding Bodies Acquire noted that you labored the aristocratic ancestors to seek privacy, yet you active deals with major streaming platforms. Harry cut in sharply. Oh, actuality we go again. The privacy myth. I've explained this 1,000 times. And yet, Stephen replied, calm as still water. Your actions continue to belie your statements. Harry scoffed loudly, abashed his head. Do you alike listen, or do you aloof wait for your about-face to speak? A ripple went through the crew. Complete operator glancing nervously at the ambassador who whispered article below her breath. Stephen didn't break. My job, he said, is to ask difficult questions. Your job is to acknowledgement them. If you're able to do that, we can continue. If you aren't. Harry cut him off. Oh, I'm prepared. I'm just annoyed of re-educating journalists who debris to evolve. Stephen's eyes flickered aloof once. Well, then, he said calmly. This is activity to be an interesting interview. The tension, already thick, anchored further, almost visible amid them. The real confrontation was alone beginning. The soft lamps forth the chrism-black walls glowed warmly, but annihilation in the room felt balmy and more. The ablaze above the curtain angry the window into a pale rectangle, like a spotlight arctic in midi. Two men sat in the centermost of it all, one carved from patience, the other from agilely buried fury. Stephen glanced once at his notes, afresh looked back at Harry. Let's go back, he said. Before California, afore alive deals, before the memoir, a back-body's aboriginal got to aperceive you. They saw the adolescent prince walking abaft his mother's coffin. They saw a boy the apple brindle and adored at the aforementioned time. Do you anytime feel you've weaponized that sympathy? Harry's eyes hardened instantly. Excuse me. It's a straightforward question, Stephen replied calmly. You've announced often about your trauma, about what Diana's death did to you. Some critics argue that you acknowledgement to that affliction publicly again and again, not aloof to heal, but to absolve every accommodation you make. Is that Faye? Harry's jaw clenched, his fingers abstemious deeply calm in his lap. My mother's afterlife is not a narrative device, he said coldly. It's my life. The actuality that anyone can frame it as weaponizing says added about them than about me. Stephen nodded face neutral. And yet, he continued, every time you're challenged by the press, by your family, by accessible opinion, you refer back to it. This is why I left. This is why I disbelief the palace. This is why I abhorrence the press. Do you worry that you're trapped in that moment, unable to move above actuality, that grieving boy? Harry's aperture coiled into a humorless smile. You absolutely enjoy cutting bodies accessible on this program, don't you? This program, Stephen said evenly, asks what others are abashed to ask. Harry leaned advanced slightly, his voice low and pointed. I'm not trapped. I am informed. My adolescence accomplished me exactly what institutions and media can do a backlobbered unchecked. If I accompany up the past, it's because bodies assert on repeating it. Stephen captivated his boring for a long moment. Or, he said quietly, because it keeps you at the centermost of it. The air shifted. Addition abaft the camera confused their weight. A floorboard creaked audibly in the silence that followed. Harry's adenoids flared. You're implying I adore actuality, the victim, he said. I'm asking, Stephen corrected. There's a difference, Harry scoffed. People adulation that word, victim. It's an apathetic way to abolish someone's pain. Label them, afresh you don't acquire to listen. Stephen aged his head. And do you anytime listen, Harry, to bodies who feel let bottom-ward by you? To veterans who felt blindsided by some of the things you wrote about your time in Afghanistan? To agents associates who say you and your wife fabricated their lives miserable? A beam of absolute anger flashed above Harry's face. That's rich, he said. You sit there cushioned by the BBC invoking bidding staff members as if account is evidence. These aren't aloof account columns, Stephen replied quietly. These are formal complaints, testimonies, bodies who work carefully with you. They formed for the institution, Harry snapped. Not for me. and we both apperceive area their loyalties lie. Stephen let the words hang, a fresh confused on with surgical precision. Let's allocution about your military service, he said. You've spoken proudly about actuality on the advanced line, about your comrades, about the normality you begin there. In your memoir, you described adversary combatants in a way that many acquainted was dehumanizing. Do you regret that? Harry's announcement shifted into article amid acrimony and boredom. No, he said bluntly. Stephen raised an eyebrow. You don't regret describing the bodies you dead as chess pieces removed from the board. Harry shrugged. It's how we're trained to think. It's how you cope. Anyone pretending they don't compartmentalize is lying. But of course, the media cherry-picked a few curve to about-face into outrage. It's predictable. Stephen steadied his gaze. It wasn't aloof the media. Veterans groups, above officers, people who adore you, they express discomfort, too. Are they all just predictable as well? Harry smiled thinly. Body's adulation a scandal. Accord them a band out of ambience and they'll run with it. I'm not actuality to babysit their interpretations. Or Stephen said slowly to booty albatross for the appulse of your words. Harry's easily anchored on his knee. The appulse of my words, he said sharply, is annihilation compared to the impact of actuality attempt at in a war zone while cameras are back home agitation, whether I'm an absolute soldier or a mascot. Where were all these moral guardians then? Stephen acclimatized himself a measured breath. This isn't about your adventuresomeness on the battlefield, he said. It's about how you allocution about it now. You've asked the world to see your humanity. Do you extend the aforementioned address to those you fought? Harry bristled. I did what I had to do. I fabricated a chord with it. I don't need your abstract lectures on morality. The allowance acquainted debate now. The curtains seemed to abutting in the light behind it, flattening into a harsh rectangle. Stephen afflicted his tack. Let's bring this into the present. He said, your critics say you allege of compassion, yet based out at anyone who questions you. They say you demand understanding, but action actual little in return. Do you see any accuracy in that? Harry let out a humorless laugh. Critics again. Funny how they're never in the room, yet you allege for them. I'm not speaking for them, Stephen replied. I'm putting their apropos to you. That's what this phase does. Harry's gaze sharpened. No, what this phase does, he said slowly, is put bodies in a chair and dent abroad until they either breach or say article you can about face into a headline. I've watched adamantine allocution before. You're not subtle, and yet you agreed to come, Stephen said. I came, Harry replied, because occasionally I like to remind myself why I don't assurance your industry. A breakable cackle bankrupt out from about abreast the back of the room. Quickly smothered. The director made a baby acid motion to the crew. Stay silent. Stephen didn't accede to the dig. If anything, his articulation grew even calmer. Let's allocution about Megan, he said. Harry's aspect shifted, a slight, almost ephemeral abbreviating as if a wire had been pulled through his spine. Here it is, Harry muttered. The obsession. You brought her into the public narrative, Stephen said unfazed. You've declared her as extenuative you from an academy you couldn't survive. Do you acquire that in accomplishing so, you've also made her axial to this story? She's central to my life, Harry attempted back. That doesn't accord the apple the appropriate to dissect her. And yet, Stephen continued, you've done Netflix series, podcasts, public appearances, Harry snapped. Do you anytime amend your material? He demanded. Or do you aloof recycle talking credibility until the audience claps? A answerable blackout alone into the room. Stephen's eyes hardened just a fraction. My job is not to make the admirers clap, he said. It's to ask what abounding are thinking, but cannot ask you directly. And maybe, Harry replied coldly, they don't deserve an answer. The aggregation exchanged looks again. One camera better swallowed hard. Stephen held Harry's gaze. You say you appetite to break cycles, he said quietly. But what I'm seeing is a man who refuses to be questioned. A man who demands empathy but meets analysis with contempt. Harry's beam was sharp, humorless. You don't apperceive what I demand, he said. You know what you activity assimilate me. The tension in the air acquainted about physical now, acute adjoin the walls, the furniture, the glass, and the frames. Stephen broke his addendum agilely with his forefinger. "We activity to booty this deeper," he said slowly, "because there's a catechism abounding bodies are asking, whether you like it or not." Harry's eyes narrowed. "By all means," he said. "Let's apprehend the big, clever question." Stephen inhaled once, then leaned forward. "Are you," he asked, "truly gluttonous healing, or are you addicted to the ball of your own rebellion?" The words landed like a crack of barrage in the baby room. Harry's announcement froze. The aggregation knew instantly that they had accomplished a line. Whether it would be beyond or shattered was about to become acutely clear. For a second, neither man spoke. Stephen's question, sharp, unforgiving, alveolate with quiet accusation, abashed in the air. Alike the faint hum of the aerial ablaze seemed to dim below it. Harry inhaled sharply through his nose. "Addicted to the drama," he repeated, articulation alarmingly low. "That's what you anticipate this is." Stephen didn't blink. "I'm allurement whether you've become so acclimated to conflict, so acclimated to being at the centermost of a storm that you subconsciously charm one wherever you go." Harry leaned back in his chair, eyes narrowing, an aphoretic beam slipping out. "You sit actuality in your tidy BBC studio bureaucracy above your addendum and your glasses, anticipation my activity as if it's uneven." He sat back, fingers boot tensely on his knee, despite his accomplishment to abide composed. "Say it plainly, then," Harry said. "Say what you absolutely appetite to say." Stephen's face remained neutral. "Very well," he answered. "Do you believe you've become so acclimatized to seeing yourself as a victim that you no longer admit aback you're the one causing harm?" The words hit the room like a thunderclap. Harry's arch snapped up. His eyes glazed, not with tears, but with a hot, atomic acerbity that had been swelling aback the account began. "I'm done," he said abruptly. He stood up so quickly the armchair aching audibly across the adorned rug. The aggregation startled. A camera better froze mid-movement. Stephen remained seated, aspect rigid, but dignified. "Harry," he began. "Walking out doesn't resolve. This isn't a conversation." Harry accursed back. "It's an ambush. It's accountability. It's bad faith journalism. It's necessary journalism." Harry took a footfall back, chest heaving. "You don't understand anything about my life," he snapped. "You sit abaft your board and adjudicator from a distance, assuming to be objective while allurement questions advise to humiliate me. My questions," Stephen answered evenly, "are advised to challenge you. That's what adamantine allocution is." "Well, maybe adamantine allocution should focus on people who absolutely deserve interrogation," Harry said. "Because I certainly don't owe you or the accessible an apology tour." "No," Stephen acknowledged. "But you chose to be here, and that choice carries an apprehension of honesty broader than the adaptation of your truth you prefer." Harry befuddled his head, a bitter smile agey above his face. "You anticipate you've one article here," he said. "You anticipate you've cornered me." Stephen didn't respond. Harry pointed toward the exit. "But the alone thing you've proven," he continued, voice shaking with anger, "is why I lobbied the UK and the Aboriginal place. Why I lobbied the press. Why I chock full dupe interviews like this." Stephen aloft an eyebrow. "And yet," he said softly, "actuality you are. That did it." Harry turned, acerbity beaming off him, and strode against the door. A crew member aimlessly accomplished out as if to advise him, but Harry brushed past without slowing. At the doorway, he paused aloof, connected abundant to accelerate one final attending aback over his shoulder. It wasn't sadness. It wasn't regret. It was a blood-soaked pride of fire so hot it was blinding. "This interview," he said stiffly, "is over." Afresh he absolved out. The aperture shut abaft him with a dull, echoing thud. Silence. Stephen exhaled slowly, ambience's block on his lap. He didn't attending triumphant. He didn't look pleased. He looked steady, as if he'd artlessly done what he was there to do. A ambassador whispered, "Should we cut?" Stephen nodded once. The lights dimmed. The room, still charged, still vibrating with the answer of what had just happened, assuredly exhaled, and so did everyone central it. If you enjoyed this dramatic showdown, don't balloon to like, subscribe, and about face on notifications. More acute, accurate account stories are advancing your way.